Hello, everyone. This is a introduction to the software system. Just want to have a quick video to demonstrate some of the features in the software, where you might go to look for the email templates that we've uploaded, simple how to modify the messaging or things like that in them, how to look for campaigns, lead nurturing, work contacts, that type of thing. Just a brief overview. There'll be a lot of follow-up videos for you to reference, to do all of very specific things, as well as some live, one-on-one training as well. But we do want to have a good basket of videos that we can provide to you so you can kind of consume on your own. You don't have to wait for us. So this is the first of those, which is just simply an introduction. So you will go to the URL that's provided, that we provide you, and log in with your own username and password. As you'll see here in a second, when I log in, it presents me with many different options. You won't typically have that option. It'll be the rare client who might have multiple businesses. But if you do have multiple businesses, you might have a choice there to make as to what business you want to go to. And they're considered work groups. And each one of those work groups and the database associated with that would be for each one of those specific businesses to keep them segregated. One important thing to note is that depending on if you're a B2B or a B2C, business to business, or a business to consumer type operation, organization, business, the company field may not be, or the navigation for company may not be relevant to you. Obviously, highly important for B2B, maybe not as important for B2C. And so if you don't want that in there, just clogging up your menu, just let us know. We can remove that from there to make it a little bit more clean to you. But the important difference or differentiation between the two of them are, if you are a contact, you could be attached to, a business, or I guess in theory, multiple businesses. But the idea is a company might have multiple contacts, 3, 4, 5 contacts. So if you're sorting, you'll see the screen, the search screen, or the display screen here is not much different between the two, but obviously how they're organized, this one's by company, this one's by contact. That kind of confuses people, and sometimes they ask that question, why the two differences. So I like to point that out, that it is important. And again, if you're a B2C, it might be completely irrelevant to you. What might be relevant are other factors of that specific consumer, right? Which you could easily house and use as a triggering mechanism for an automation or a campaign within the contact. And as I go to the contact here, I'll quickly show you one. Obviously, it's going to be different for you than it is for us. But in this circumstance, I have a custom field called industry. And in that database, I have a number of different industry types that I could certainly just plug someone in, say they're in professional services, and then update. I'll go ahead and put a name in here. I have some, custom automated fill information that Google gives me, but I could put that information in there, update it. You'll notice in the contact notes, I have email history and emails that have been sent out. You can tag the person, which is another filter you can use for automations, attached files and everything else. All that is like saved in here. So you have a lot of different areas in which things can be simply added, or if you've done it in the past, it will save it and display it for you or anyone else who operates in your business work group. So now that I have a few different things in there, you can clearly see on the regular contact or record screen, there's other information. So you can quickly add from here in the record view. You can filter into the contact, or if we're working at the company level, you'll see here there's a quick edit, and the screen doesn't look a whole lot different, but nonetheless they are, because looking at the company info, and the company info has some similar stuff, but also some different things under the profile and special interest area. So that's a brief, explanation of a few things. And directly from here, you can quick add a tab. You can quick send an SMS to this individual. You can send them an email. It's a one-to-one email, you to them, even using some of the templates that are in your database already that we've created for you. You've created, other people in the organization have created. You can simply just click the check mark here and it will display it at the bottom. Very standard text editor, and it has a bunch of stuff in there, right? So you can send that email. People underestimate the importance of sending even one-off emails through whatever software system. you're using. And that's why we recommend when, wherever we're working with a client, that you typically use a software system to communicate with them rather than your regular email client. Like we use Google Workspace. And sometimes you might communicate with a client or a prospective customer directly through there. And, that's kind of normal and most people do that. But one problem in that is that you don't have the benefit of being able to quickly access that information in the future, nor can anyone else in your organization see those emails that you have sent to them within your Google Workspace or whatever email program you use. And having it done through the software system helps organize that. And you can see here, you're going to have comment and record history where an email was sent to this individual. And not only can you benefit by being able to quickly look back at that, but other people in the organization can as well. So it's a very important element of most CRMs. And obviously, as I'm demonstrating here, our CRM has that functionality for you to be able to do that. And I strongly encourage people to take advantage of that. So moving away from the contact screen, which I think most people are somewhat familiar with in one shape or another, let's move over to where you find your emails, the emails that we've created for you, and you can edit and modify, and that's going to be under the Marketing Studio. So going to the Marketing Studio, you can see there's a number of different submenus that we can take a look at, which is a couple of different ways to get to them. In this case, we're going to look at the email marketing and templates. On this screen here, it shows the past email blasts, typical phraseology used, email blasts that were sent out. That is, someone created an email or a campaign with an existing email, targeted a specific group based on a few different metrics, and then sent out that email either now, like when they were making it, or scheduled it to go out in the future. That is different than lead nurturing campaigns, which are set on specific triggers, which date can be one of them, but they're also targeting someone, usually if they're in some sort of category. As I had shown you earlier, you have that industry in the contact, and you can say, I want to target that specific industry and send them out this specific email. You can kind of do that through this, but then you have the follow-up automation. This is going to be one email going out one time, whereas when I show you the lead nurturing groups, you can attach a series of emails to go out at a specific time or triggered based on an event when someone is moved through the sales process, which will become a little bit more clear when I get to that section. But for this, you want to go to options, and we want to go and manage the email message templates that are already loaded in the system. And here's where you can see all of the messages that have thus far been created under your business, or AKA in our software system called a work group. So you see them all here, and magnifying glass obviously indicates you can view it, and you can see the emails, each and every one of the ones that are created here. If you wanted to, say, edit an email, you click pencil, takes you to this screen, tell you the name, description. You can modify all of this. There's a couple of interesting points, and obviously in future videos, we'll have more in-depth discussions on functionality and how to create and all the different things you can do in an email. But a couple of things that it might be of importance to you is inserting merge fields. Not a common thing that many people take advantage of or know about, but inserting merge fields, you have two different places where you can do that. You can insert a merge field in the subject. So if I wanted to say in the very subject of it, target the contact. And as you can see, there's a number of different elements you can, subcategories of merge fields: sales and marketing, company, user created fields, or the custom fields, things like that. But most common, contact, and you can say first name. It's probably the most normal use case for it, where right there in the subject, you can say hello or thank you, probably put thank you, contact first name for speaking about Anthem Business Software, right? That's one. Second merge field will be actually in the body of it, where I can say the same thing. I can put the cursor there. I want to use an insert a merge field again. I want to go target the contact details, and I can go and look for a first name. As you can see, this is going to change. Just to point it out to you, you can see all the different ones that are under contact. But if I chose another one that I hadn't chose earlier, go to company, and then you have various unique fields of in username. Some of them obviously not relevant, but they all fall under company. But of a company with X amount of employees, you could insert that in there. It might be important for you to consider something, or companies of revenue, and then insert that if you have that in the company field. So all different various, very unique, ways in which you can insert things dynamically for it to make them more personalized. So just two things I wanted to point out. But again, going back to Marketing Studio, email marketing templates, options, manage email templates. Here's where you see all of the email templates that we've already got preloaded in the software system, which, as this is an overview video, you're only going to have a basket of them, which are mostly going to be the ones that are sales related, sales follow-up related, contacted viable, do not reach, closed, won, and then a review email, an email that recommends that people leave you a review that you can do as attached to a lead nurturing campaign, or you can send as a one-off to someone, or an email blast, and then an overview, typically the overview of what it is that you offer that's going to be included in one of the campaigns. So those are the basket of emails. I think it comes out to something like 8 or 9 emails are automatically created upon launch of your software. Another thing to point out under Marketing Studio, on the subheading, this is where you would find the email reports, or you can kind of take a look at your recent, and you can obviously choose a date. You can choose a custom range, say last 30 days. You can select the type of campaign. Was it an email campaign, i.e. a blast, the lead nurturing, so based on a trigger, or individual emails that were sent? In this case, I'll just choose lead nurturing campaign. And then you can go and look at which one of these specifically you wanted to look at, or you can select all. And then if I want to show individual campaigns, once this loads up, let's say we had 479 emails sent in the last 30 days with some of the other analytics and a chart results, it's going to show me specifically to the 3. It'll give me 3 different sections here, and I can look at it based on the individual lead nurturing campaigns themselves. How many people opened, clicked, so on and so forth. So moving along to campaigns. Under the campaign section, you're going to find marketing campaigns. This is how we organize the groups of people or businesses that come into the organization. As you can see how we're using it, just to kind of frame your mind around how this would be, you would use it to organize it. We do some of these expos or conventions, whether that be a virtual convention or an in-person convention, and we have lists of people that we get from those expos, and we load them in there. We also have people that we put in, and we put in the campaign customer base so that we can then communicate with them specifically and much differently than we do the prospect lists. You also have the website inquiry. So this is the campaign that's going to be populated from the form fields on your website. So once your website goes live and someone fills out a form on your website, the most basic one is going to be the website inquiry. That's going to be a general contact. Now, the beautiful thing about the idea of these campaigns is, even from a website perspective, is that you could have different types of campaigns that populate from different forms. Each form can be made to be very, very specific. Could be like a PPC form, and therefore we can have a general website inquiry, and we can have another campaign saying, Google Ads, form submission, Google Ads, just call it Google Ads. But we can have multiple campaigns and multiple forms coming in through the website, populating these campaigns and adding records to them, which then can be used in the future to create further automation to that person. So if I go to, just to kind of look at that, you have website inquiry. I'm going to go to the automation workflow. You'll see that, let me move this thing over on the side. The website lead is here. And whenever the campaign condition evaluated is when the campaign equals RAV, which is the campaign ID, it goes ahead and sends an email to that person, and the email template is autoresponder. I'll get back to that in a quick second, but I'm going to first go back to the campaigns and go from marketing campaigns to lead nurturing campaigns, which tie into that automation. It's actually the second step after those automations, but I'll show you the lead nurturing campaigns so you get an understanding of how these work as well. And they all, marketing campaigns, lead nurturing campaigns, and the automation kind of all work together. I'll have another video that kind of describes how to create one of these so you can see how each one of them work together, but you can kind of get the gist of it here in doing this. One thing that you'll see in various places within the software system is this pause play button, and that kind of activates something or shuts it off, right? So if you see a pause, and it's a little counterintuitive, but if you think about it, based on actions, it makes sense. So the next step, anything that you see in pause is active. And so what you're clicking on to do is to activate this particular thing, which is pausing it. Or in this case, this one is inactive, as it shows you here as well. There's a way to tell beyond the pause and play button, but it also shows you what state it's in. So it's currently in this state, and pushing this button actually activates that next step, which in this case is pause. Just want to point that out, and some people get a little bit confused on that. And obviously under options, you can create a campaign and so on and so forth and add people to these lead nurturing groups. So just to take a look at one real quick, we're going to take a look at this conference. And if I click on that blue, it shows me that the name of the contract, the lead nurturing campaign, and then towards the bottom, it's going to explain to me what are the steps. So you have an introduction email that goes out at step 1, and that goes out immediately or one day after that person is added to the group. And then the second email goes out 3 days after that one. So they're in sequence. So as I'll show you in another lead nurturing campaign, you have the starting point of an automation, which typically is triggered immediately, which is why the separation between the two. The automations are typically something that goes out immediate, and then it adds it to a lead nurturing group, which then does a follow-up 1 day after that initial one went out, and then this one goes out 3 days after that one goes out. That's how it works. And then the type of campaign is email, which you'll see here. You can add an email step, or you can add an appointment step. And some of these other ones have appointment steps, like this one. Unable to reach lead, you have both emails that go out to this person who is in this lead nurturing group, and you have callbacks. A callback is a notification for you or internal staff members when they log into the system that on that day, if it's triggered, if it's that day that it calls for something to be done, you'll get a notification within the system. So you'll see a little pop-up when you first log in saying, hey, there's a bunch of people that need to be followed up on. So the appointment callbacks are for internal use, and obviously the emails are for communication outward to that particular contact. And that's how lead nurturing works. Let's move over to under admin, automation, and workflow management, which hopefully this will give you a little better understanding of how those other two kind of interrelate to one another. So you see, when you create one of these, you can add a new rule and it updates an existing contact. So let's go to one that I know has a lead nurturing campaign to it, which is the same one we just previously looked at, which is unable to reach. And I'll click on the little pencil so we get a little bit better understanding. So it says, if the condition is met, did not reach, was clicked, then update the record, send out an email or an appointment callback first, and then send an email. So that's the initial step. Then add to the lead nurturing track, which handles the rest. That is the post first interaction. It does the remaining things going over a period of time, which you just saw. 1 email, 1 day, 3 day, 7 day email goes out to that person, and then notifications of X, Y, and Z internally. So that's kind of how they tie in. The business workflow, which is what this is, workflow and automation, has a business rule and updating a contact once X, Y, and Z happens, pushes it to lead nurturing. Lead nurturing does the rest. And that's kind of the relationship between those. That's how they work. So you can kind of look at them. Again, the importance of this intro, just to recap, is to understand the difference between companies and contact. Being able to look at and update a contact or a business, and you can kind of see the contact fields, being able to communicate and store that information within the contact itself. Finding your emails that are created by you or created by others. They'll all be stored in the same group, and they should be able to share unless one person blocks it from another, which is entirely possible depending on your user level. But you can see all of them here. You can view them with an hourglass. You can edit them with the pencil. Understanding where to go for email marketing statistics, different ways in which you can look at that. Understanding campaigns, which is how we, at the highest level, store our data of how someone came to us, versus lead nurturing campaigns, which is the communication going out to them. And then, of course, the automation workflows, which will push, edit a contact, edit existing record, or add a new record. Last piece of this that I will say is, in looking at campaigns, lead nurturing, and automations, if you remember, one of the things it introduced was the condition of when did not reach was checked. We come here to a contact, and as you probably saw earlier, when I clicked on the contact, in the right-hand side here, you have actions for calls. And these are the ones that are connected to that. So when an action is performed, in other words, I move someone through the sales process simply by clicking it, then they get moved. Contact is updated. They go to another lead nurturing campaign, and it goes along. So it's important to understand that we know people who are coming in. You can assign people to different things, but how you move someone through the different stages of your sales process is going to be through clicking these particular things. There's automation on the back side of it, but you do need to make sure that you're moving someone through that sales process by clicking it, or else the messaging going out to that person is not going to match where they are in the sales process. Not something we can control. Obviously, that's generally something that's happening outside of the software system. It doesn't really know what's going on, where that person is. So the one thing that you do have to do is, once you set up the automations and lead nurturing and all those types of things, is move someone by clicking these actions, which can be modified, of course. These are the ones that we have for naming conventions for us and that fit our sales model. Yours might not fit. So obviously we'll have to work together to be able to modify that to conform it to your sales process. This concludes the initial software introduction video. Thank you very much.